Gitavach. I hope everybody is well. I'm going to record now Mem Amid Beis, Mem Aleph Amid Aleph, and Mem Aleph Amid Beis, and slowly we'll try to catch up. We're at the bottom of Mem Amid Aleph, the last line, and the last thing we learned was that in the beginning it was only usher to bathe with water that's heated on Shabbos. Water that was heated on Friday would be okay. But the bathhouse attendants, and some have written that it wasn't Jewish bathhouse attendants, there were Goyish bathhouse attendants who would heat the water on Shabbos but claimed that it was heated on Friday. So the Chachamim prohibited people to bathe on Shabbos even with water that was heated on Friday, but they still allowed people to use steam on Shabbos. Then what happened was people used to bathe with water that was heated on Friday, which was against what the Rabbanan said, but they were claiming they were only using steam. So the Chachamim answered steam, but they still allowed Chamei Tveria. So people were bathing with hot water that was warmed Erev Shabbos in fire and claiming that it was Chamei Tveria. So then they asked for Chamei Tveria also, but they still allowed people to bathe in cold water. Chachamim saw that people were not able to hold out and not use Chamei Tveria, so they allowed Chamei Tveria, but the Isser on steam remained. So this was an explanation of Mishirabu Oivre Aveira. So Amar Rava says, Haiman da'over adarabanan. If somebody violates an Issa darabanan, Shari l'mikri le avaryana. You're allowed to call him a sinner. It's not considered lashon hara, because here the people who violated were using water that was heated on Friday and claiming they were just getting steam. That also was considered Oivre Aveira. So you see, even though they did only an Issa darabanan, and it's kihaitana. This idea that if you violated the Rabbana, you're called an Oivre Aveira, is based on this Brisa, this Tana, that called people who used hot water bathed on, that was heated on Friday, Oivre Aveira. We learned in the Brisa, Bat Yois Shel Krachim Metayel Behem Ve'ena Chayshish. If you have large bathhouses of big cities, you can walk through it on Shabbos. You don't have to be concerned that there's an issue of taking steam. Amar Rava says, Davka Krachin, it's Davka these bathhouses of large cities, which were very large, the large bathhouses also, but a small bathhouse of a village, you shouldn't go through it on Shabbos. Why? My tama, because Zutrin Nafish Havlayo, the small ones had a lot of steam in it. So therefore, even if it's not your intention to get steam, but you're really getting steam. But the bigger ones, which isn't so steam filled, so you can walk through it, and it's not considered that you went for steam. Taner Rabbanan, the Rabbanan taught in the Brisa, Nischamim Adam Keneged Amadura V'Yoytze Mishtatef B'Tzainin. A person is allowed to get himself warm in front of a fireplace, and then he can take a wash off with cold water, and there's no Isser, and it's not considered that the cold water is being heated by the heat of his body. Now, there can't be bishul here, of course, because all you're doing is you're making the cold water lukewarm. But the Isser would be that maybe it's considered that you're bathing on Shabbos with warm water, but it's not. On the other hand, Aval Bilvat Shelo Yishtatef B'Tzayne V'Yischamim Keneged Amadura. But you shouldn't wash your body with cold water and then sit next to a fireplace. Because there you're making the water that's on you lukewarm. And it's not considered that you're boiling the water, but it's considered like you're bathing in hot water. Why? Because the water is on you and you're making the water that's on you hot. The Rosh writes that according to this, a person shouldn't wash his hands on Shabbos and then hold his hands in front of a heat source, because that too would be considered washing his hands. The only question is, why would that be usher L'chayra, the Isser of washing with hot water, which was heated Erev Shabbos, is only if you wash your whole body, but not Panav Yodav V'Raglov. But here it's considered that the water was heated on Shabbos, and if it's water that's heated on Shabbos, so you're not even allowed to wash any part of your body. So you have to be careful. The Shabura Paschas that way. If you have wet hands, not to put your hands in front of a heat source. Taner Rabbanan, the Rabbanan taught in the Braisa, Mecham Adam Aluntis Menichal B'nei Meyayim B'Shabbos. Person is allowed to take a towel, heat it on Shabbos, and put it on his stomach. He has a stomach ache. I'll have to explain in a second. But he shouldn't take a hot water kettle and put it on his stomach b'Shabbos, because if the water spills, l'chayra, he's bathing on Shabbos with hot water. But this, by the way, afilu b'chaylos, or even during the weekday, it's also b'nei sakana, because it's boiling hot water and he can burn himself. Now, what is exactly the problem of the hot water kettle on his stomach? So there's 4 shittas in the Rishonim. The issue if this hot water kettle was heated on Erev Shabbos, so the chayre, water that was heated Erev Shabbos, there's no isser in bathing part of your body. So even if it spills on his stomach, it shouldn't be such a problem. So there's 2 ways to learn Pshat. The Beis Yosef says maybe this hot water kettle will totally spill. I guess it's a big kettle, and it'll wash most of his body. That's considered washing all your body with hot water that was heated Erev Shabbos, and that's Osir. Or perhaps this hot water kettle also got heated on Shabbos. It was sitting on the fire on Shabbos. So since it's water that was heated on Shabbos, you can't even wash part of your body. Some Rishonim say that this hot water kettle is placed on top of the towel on top of your stomach, which makes more sense, because otherwise the kettle will burn your stomach. We're afraid if it spills on the towel, you might come to the schita, you might come to squeeze the towel. And the 4th shot is that if you have this hot water kettle on top of the towel, it looks like you're doing a refuah. Whereas if you just have a plain towel that's hot, it doesn't look like a refuah. And by the way, there's a big difference whether we hold the tam is because of schita, or the tam is because it looks like rechitza, or the tam is because of refuah. Because what happens if you actually have what we have, a hot water bottle, where it's not going to spill? So you have no problem of rechitzas kol gufa, you have no problem of rechitzas panav yodav v'raglov, you have no problem of schita. But refuah would still be an issue. And therefore, it's still aser. The Shabura says, l'tzarech gadol, you could be megal. Taner Rabbanan, maybe Adam kita in mayim amenicha keneged amadura, loy b'shvil sheyechamu, el b'shvil shetofik sinasan. Tanakama says you're allowed to take a container of water, put it next to a fireplace, not to make it hot until it's yad lettuce by, but only to make it lukewarm. There's machlekes in how you do that. Is it, can you put it close to the fireplace, you just have to take it away before it gets hot, or you have to put it somewhere where it cannot get hot? Rabbi Yehuda, opinion number 2, says, Aimer, Mevi isha pachshol shemen menichatu keneged amadura, le b'shvil sheyivashel el b'shvil sheyivshar. A woman can take a jug of oil, put it next to a fireplace, not that the oil should boil, but only to make it lukewarm. Statement number 2. Now comes statement number 3. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Aimer isha sacha yod shemen mechamamato keneged amadura, v'sachal of nokotten ve'ena chasheshes. What a woman is allowed to do is to coat her hands with oil and then heat her hands against the madura to make it lukewarm, and then apply it on her child. And there is no isser. So we had 3 views here, and we have to see how they connect. The first view was that you could put water next to a fireplace to make it lukewarm. Tanakama says you can put oil next to the fireplace to make it lukewarm, but not to boil it. And Rav Shimon Gamliel says you can only put oil on your hands, and then that way hold it against the fire to make it lukewarm. So the Gemara wants to know, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel were talking about oil. Shemen ma'al Tanakama. What would be the Tanakama's opinion regarding oil? So it's a dispute, because he only talked about water. So Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef Damri Tarvai, Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef both say, Le'atayra. The Tanakama holds that you're allowed to put the container of oil next to the fireplace. And Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Lisur. Rav Nachman Yitzchak says it's osir. Let's explain. Rabbi Rav Yosef Damri Tarvayu Latay. Rabbi Rav Yosef say there's no problem, according to the Tanakama, to put a container of oil next to a fireplace, Because shemen, afal pisha yatsa lettuce by mutter. Even if you make the oil so hot that it'll burn your hand, it's okay. Because ksavar Tanakama, the Tanakama's opinion is shemen ein bo mishum bishul. That oil doesn't need boiling. Boiling does nothing for oil. So therefore, not only are you allowed to make it lukewarm, you can even boil it. It hasn't done anything for the oil. So there's no isser. Also, Rabbi says, I'm sorry, shemen yesh bo mishum bishul. You're not allowed to make the oil boil, meaning you're not allowed to make it yatsa lettuce by, but to have sheiroi lezehu bishulai. But just to make it lukewarm, that's not considered yatsa lettuce by. So that you can do. You can put it next to the fire so that it gets lukewarm. Reb Shimon Gamliel, also Reb Shimon Gamliel Meimer, he holds that shemen yesh bo mishum bishul, but sheiroi lezehu bishulai. He holds that oil can be boiled, and making it lukewarm, that's considered sufficient bishul. So therefore, the only thing you can do is a woman can put it on her hands and then warm her hands against the madura. The Rishonim only asks that if according to Reb Shimon Gamliel, shemen, there is bishul b'shemen, and even when you make it lukewarm, that's considered its bishul. So if that's an iser deraisa, then how can she put it on her hands and hold it next to the madura? What is that? A shinui. But as a shinui, it should be still asur b'derabbanan. So they explained that even Reb Shimon Gamliel holds, according to Reb Yehuda, bishul on shemen is an iser deraisa, but making shemen lukewarm is mutter afilim derabanan. Reb Shimon Gamliel holds boiling the shemen is an iser deraisa, making shemen lukewarm would have been an iser derabanan. Therefore, since it's only an iser derabanan, so for a woman to put it on her hands and then make the oil lukewarm is only a shinui in a derabanan. Therefore, it's mutter. On the other hand, Rav Nachman Yitzchak Omer L'Yisura. Rav Nachman Yitzchak says that the Tanakama prohibits heating oil altogether. Shemen afal pi she'ena yatsa lettuce by aser. According to the Tanakama, even to make the oil lukewarm is prohibited. Ksavar, because the Tanakama holds shemen yesh bo mishum bishul ve'ef she'iroi zehu bishulai. Tanakama holds that oil can be boiled, so it's aser to make it yatsa lettuce by, and even if you make it lukewarm, that's also considered a bishul. Also, Rabbi says you can't. Don't be so strict. Have sheiroi lezehu bishulai. Making it lukewarm is not considered boiling, so you're allowed to make it lukewarm, but you're not allowed to make it yatsa lettuce by. Also, Reb Shimon Gamliel holds shemen yesh bo mishum bishul ve'ef sheiroi zehu bishulai. Reb Shimon Gamliel holds that oil can be nizbashul, so therefore yatsa lettuce by is aser, and even if you make it lukewarm, that's also called bishul, and therefore a woman can only put it on her hands, because that will be a shino nederabanan. Reb Shimon Gamliel haina Tanakama. The stringency of Shimon Gamliel sounds like the stringency of the Tanakama, according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. The difference is Reb Shimon ben Gamliel allows a woman to put it on her hands and then to warm her hands against the madura. Because according to the Tanakama, according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, shemen has bishul, and even making it lukewarm is also bishul, and that's a deraisa. If it's a deraisa, then you're not allowed to do it with a shinui by putting the oil on your hands and warming it against the madura, because making a shinui a deraisa is still an issa derabanan. Rabbi Yehuda holds that boiling it is a deraisa, making it lukewarm is not even a derabanan, it's mutter. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds making it lukewarm would be a derabanan. So therefore doing it with a shinui by a woman putting it on her hands is mutter. Amar Rav Yehuda Mishmul echad shemen v'echad mayim is yatsa lettuce by is aser. And yatsa lettuce by is mutter. Rabbi Yehuda said b'shem Shmuel, the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that whether it's water or it's oil, to make it lukewarm is okay, but to make it yatsa lettuce by is aser. Heichi dami, what's called the yatsa lettuce by? What is the heat of yatsa lettuce by? Amarachba kol shekreisa shaltinik nechves. When a child's stomach would be burned by it, that's called yad lettuce by. One opinion is it's 43 degrees Celsius. Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi said, Pamachas nechnasti achar Rebbe lebeis hamerchatz. I once followed Rebbe to a bathhouse, and we'll see in a second that this bathhouse was a bathhouse of Chamei Tveria, which they did not prohibit. And there was a tub, it looks like an in-ground tub, the water from Chamei Tveria flowed into it, and I wanted to take a container of oil and put it into that tub. So Rebbe told me, toil the klisheni, take some water out of the tub into a klisheni, and then you could put the jug of oil into it in order to make it lukewarm. So Shmamina Tlas, I heard from this three things. Shmamina Shemen Yesh Bo Mishum Bishul, I saw that oil can be boiled. because he prohibited me to put it into a Kli Rishon, into the Ambati, which had the original source of Maim Chamin, to make Chamei Tveria. Shmamin a Kli Sheni ain't mevashel, but once you put it into a Kli Sheni, there is no bishul. So he said, if I take water out from the Ambati, put it into another kel, I can put it in. But even if I only wanted to make it lukewarm, that's also considered bishul, and that's what, and we're machmir, not like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said that only boiling it, only yatzel lettuce boils also, but if sheira is mutter, looks like we're machmir, like the Tanakama or Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, that even if sheiroi zeh bishulai, therefore you only allowed it into a klisheni. And obviously this must have been a Chamei Tveria. By the way, Hechi Ovid Hochi, how was Rebbe allowed to tell Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avimi to put into a klisheni? V'amar Rabba bar B'chanan Rabbi Yochanan b'chol mokem muter laharer chutz mi beis merchas beis kisei. You're allowed to think divrei Torah or speak divrei Torah anywhere except for a bathhouse or a bathroom. Chiteim b'loshen choil amar lei, and if you'll say maybe he spoke to him not in Hebrew, v'amar Abai said dvorim shel choil muter laimer b'loshen kodesh. If you want to say something that's not halacha, not Torah, you can speak even Hebrew in a bathhouse. But shel kodesh also laimer b'loshen choil. But if you're going to say Torah, you're not even allowed to say it in a non-Hebrew language. The Gemara answers, Afrushim Yisur Shani. Because Rebbe wanted to warn him not to do the Isser. He was about to do an Isser of putting oil into the Ambati, which is a Kli Rishon, so he was allowed to warn him. And Taida, I'll prove it to you. Damar Rav Yunam Shmuel, Rav Yunam said B'Shem Shmuel, Maaseh b'Talmida sherav Meir shenichnas achar l'beis hamerchetz v'bikesh l'adiach karka. Let me explain. In the olden days, when a notable person came into a merchetz, what they would do is they would block the incoming water from the merchetz. They would open the hole to let the water out, and then they would wash or hose down the floor, clean it, and then they would put some perfumed material on the floor. Then they would close the outgoing hole and let the incoming hole let the water in. Then you had a very aromatic steam room or bathhouse. So Talmud of Rabbi Meir went into the Beis Merchetz and bikesh l'diach karka, and he wanted to wash out the floor on behalf of Rabbi Meir on Shabbos. Is va'amar lo, so he told him, "Ein madichan, you're not allowed to do that." I guess Rabbi Meir must have been Chamei Tveria. This must have been Chamei Tveria, and Rabbi Meir Balanes was in Tveria anyway. So he says, so he told him, "Ein madichan, you're not allowed to wash down the floor on Shabbos because you'll smooth the floor, and that's like baina, you're making a straight floor." So then he wanted losach like harka. He just wanted to coat the floor with this aromatic stuff. You're not allowed to do that either because you might be straightening out any uneven parts of the floor. So you see, frushim yisur shani. So you see, you're allowed to say a halacha in order to somebody should avoid doing an iser. That's why Rebbe told Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi not to put the container of oil into the ambati, which is a Kli Rishon. Amar Avinus or Avinus is Shmami Nam Vashal B'Chamei Tveria B'Shabbos Chayiv. So you see that cooking Chamei Tveria is Chayiv. Damasa the Rebbe Lacher Gzeir Hava. The story of Rebbe was L'Chayre after they already decreed the prohibition on steam. So what's Rebbe doing in a bathhouse? Must have been Chamei Tveria. So if it's Chamei Tveria, and V'Amar Le Rebbe told him, "Tol b'klisheni v'ten." You got to put it into a klisheni. So you see that bishul b'Chamei Tveria is a deraisa. Eini v'Amar Rav Chizda v'Ashal b'Chamei Tveria b'Shabbos Potter. We learned Rav Chizda says if you cook in Chamei Tveria, it's Potter, meaning Potter avalaser. Where my chayiv meaning the kamar makas mardas. It's only a derabbanan. Let me explain. Because we're going to paskin not like Rabbi Yosef once said in Rabbi Yosef, the Chamei Tveria is told us a fire, but it's told us a chama. If it's told us a chama, only the Rabbanan held. We were geyser told us a chama, or told us a eish. So then it's only nisa the Rabbanan. So that's what Ravina says. Amvashal b'Chamei Tveria b'Shabbos. You're over nisa the Rabbanan, and therefore Yechayev makas mardas the Rabbanan. Amar Abzeira Anocha Zisa Rababo Deshad Bambati. I once saw Rababo who was floating on a tub. I'm not sure whether he had his feet off the ground or not. Certainly couldn't take his feet off the ground. The Tanya lent in a brayso person shouldn't swim in a pool even if it's in a private courtyard. If it's an Urshus Sarabim or it's in a Carmelis, then we're afraid as he kicks with his feet, the water will go more than Arbamis B'Shus Sarabim or more than Arbamis B'Carmelis. Even if it's in a backyard, I'm also afraid that he might kick the water from the Rishus HaYachid into the Rishus Sarabim. So certainly he was not able to swim. It's like Asha, If the pool doesn't have any boundaries, doesn't have any walls, so then I'm afraid even Rishus HaYachid, as you kick, you might kick the water from Rishus HaYachid into Rishus Rab or Carmelis. But if the pool has solid walls, then you can't kick it out of Rishus HaYachid, then it would be mutter. But Lamaisa, we ask you swimming anyway, because you might make a chavias shel shayotin, you might make yourself some floating device, or because you might come to the schita on the towels and such. So that's the end of part 1. I'm going to upload it, Hashem Yazor, and then we'll do part 2.